back to the channel, and for some of you, welcome back for the second time in the space of 15 minutes. In case you're wondering, watching back in video form, what I might be on about, we were having some technical issues, just like Celtic were at Parkhead yesterday, and I had to restart the PC. So I'm hoping the lag is gone, I'm hoping we're all good. Right now, things look decent. I don't see any jump or lag on the left hand side of me, whereas my monitor may be, and I think we are in the all clear. So that is good. It's nice to be back. Good evening and Happy New Year for those who might have not watched any content thus far in 2025. It is nice to be back, and it's nice to see some of you having a laugh with it in the comments section as the stream died on me. 126 live viewers right now. Fantastic. Thank you for staying with me while I fixed those technical issues. Very quickly going to touch on what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by whatever technical issue it was. It's nice to be back now and a little bit of routine and back to normality. Those few weeks in the year, the festive period, you really get derailed by it all, don't you? It really kind of sets you off track. It's Monday the 6th of January, it's the first Monday of the year. This is where things sort of settle down and things get back to normal, you could say. And I'm really grateful for that, because the last couple of weeks have been so hectic, so out of tune for me. And tonight, it's nice to get back to a place where I feel like we can get the routine back. So it's Monday night, we're starting back with our Monday night live stream. The Monday night Q&As, it's the day of the week I preferred doing them. I like getting to chat to you guys after the fallout of the weekend's results. So hopefully they'll be back every Monday on a regular basis from now on, unless we have to change nights for any reason. Videos, of course, through the other 4 or 5 days of the week. Members content will return back to how it should be. Your weekly members Q&A stream, your weekly Football Manager stream, and weekly Thunder Club alongside the Celtic the Thunder for everybody in this calendar year. Back to normal, back to the way it should be. Thank you for bearing with me. Of course, the festive period, a lot of things to do, a lot of people to see, and a lot of football to keep up with. That much football that it actually gets quite... I don't know, do you ever feel fatigued by the amount of football? Like, part of me wakes up on a match day and I'm like, oh, there's a game again. And it's not a disappointment, it's not that I'm not wanting to go to the game, but it's like, you feel like you've just been at one. And it just, at this time of year, they feel like they come at you left, right and centre, and you're like, I just want a breather from it all. So it's nice to get back into normal routine here. Hopefully football kind of goes alongside that. But it's good to see you all in the chat. Thank you for the amazing support throughout this festive period and sticking with me when things have been a little bit inconsistent. But we've had a lot to talk about, I'm sure we will, throughout this January transfer window. So, yeah, welcome. It's nice to see you. We have a lot to talk about on this stream. Of course, the Q&A session we'll have for the last 15-20 minutes of the stream. But the title of the podcast... and the big talking point coming into tonight's stream is of course talking about that stuff yesterday, the Brendan Rodgers post-match press conference, where he, let's just put it the way it was, he took aim at the supporters for a little bit of the atmosphere and some of the chants that came from the terraces of Celtic Park yesterday. Listen to me, terraces, you'd think it's 1984. Yeah, he took aim. He wasn't too happy, and I don't think that he was in the best mood. To be quite honest, it didn't sound like he was in a great mood, and he certainly made that clear through his comments and certain things. It is one of the most divisive topics that I have seen when it comes to Celtic in a long time, and I mean proper divisive, proper polarising. Greg Taylor has found himself in the centre of a whirlpool of different feelings and emotions, of people backing him, of people saying they'll drive him to the airport. This, I can't explain how divisive this has actually been. And when I have scrolled Twitter, my comment section, I'm going from reading one comment that says, absolutely agree with Brendan Rodgers, he's spot on, Greg Taylor is treated like shit and he's right to come out and back him. And then the next comment will be, fuck Rodgers, fuck Taylor, we can sing what we want. And pardon my French, but I am literally using the language used in the comments that I've been reading. It has been such a divisive issue, and I don't think it's one that needs to be dragged on. To be quite honest, I didn't necessarily want to come on here tonight. I said my piece about it yesterday on the channel, and I think I could have left it there. I don't think I had to come and talk about it some more. But so many people wanted me to talk more about my opinion. People were picking out points that they didn't agree with in me, and I wanted to make myself clear, and I wanted to get you guys telling me about your opinions as well here tonight. So just before we get into that, thank you to Ewan for the £5. Appreciate it, mate. Saying, hi Ryan, how are you? Happy New Year. Hope you enjoyed your festives. Hopefully Kieran Tierney does come back. And am I buzzing for Raw on Netflix tonight? Of course I am. We watch party as well. No alcohol involved. Just a casual party. A Pepsi party. Pepsi Phil party. And thank you. I do appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully Kieran Tierney does come back. It's looking like he is. Thank you to Jackie, who has become a channel member. Thank you to all the channel members in here, including new channel member Elijah, who is one. Love the profile picture, by the way. The FM content, I hope you enjoy it. And thank you to Paul, who donates and says, what was Rodgers thinking when he said to the board, I want KT back? Of course we were going to rave about the news. Right. Thank you, Paul, for the donation. God bless me. And I agree. So I want to get my opinion. Hello, guys at Celtic Unrestricted View. JP, Alan, Ryan, hello. Nice to see you. I don't know who's on just now. I'm assuming it's you, JP. Hope you're well. So I wanted to come on and just clarify my point that I said yesterday, in case those didn't catch the end of my video. I know some people stick on the match reactions and maybe watch the first 5 minutes and they don't stick on until the end. So people have been asking me, what's my opinion, what do I think, and all the rest of it. There's JP. I just clocked the JP at the end. Happy New Year to you. I appreciate it, sir. Hope you and the family are well. And the boys at the podcast as well. So yeah, listen, I made my point perfectly clear. I'm not that fussed, right? Either way, I'm not that fussed. I do not feel very passionate on the issue. Not passionate enough to be shouting from the rooftops saying that Taylor should go or Rodgers is bang out or whatever. I, as a level-headed Celtic supporter, can understand why Brendan Rodgers has done what he's done. From a professional point of view, he has came out and backed his player who he thinks is under fire from the Celtic support down to a chant. But so I understand why Rodgers has done what he's done. In saying that, I don't agree with what Brendan Rodgers has said. And that's okay. That's not me saying that he's bang out of order or that he's even wrong. I just don't agree with what he's saying, and I think that this is getting looked at by him and probably Greg Taylor as well in the wrong fashion entirely, and that is my point on it. My point isn't that anyone is drastically in the wrong here. I just think that it has been perceived in the wrong manner from Brendan Rodgers and a lot of the Celtic fans who are backing Rodgers and what he's saying. You know me, I'm Rodgers fan number one. I adore the guy. He is my favourite manager in Celtic, my Celtic lifetime, supporting the club. I think he's one of the best managers in the country. I have the world of respect for him, and that doesn't mean that I can't question or question anything that Rodgers says or pick out points that I may not agree with, because that wouldn't be, nobody is above that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that to a politician. I wouldn't do that to a football manager. I wouldn't do that to anybody. I can disagree with folk and I can pick out points I don't agree with, right? And the thing that I don't get, and I agree with Alex, I think he's opened himself a can of worms here where a lot of people are getting a little bit nitpicky about it and a little bit irked by it, when I hope we can just move on from it. But Brendan Rodgers' point is that we can't do it. We can't sing Kieran Tierney's name because it's a disrespectful showing towards Greg Taylor. In his words, it's disrespectful to Taylor, who's there, who's playing, and he's on the pitch, and we're singing the name of a player who's not even joined the club yet. So all in that confirming that basically Tierney is coming back. But the biggest point being that he thinks it's disrespectful and that it's not on. That was essentially his words. And I don't agree. Not to the point where I'm screaming and shouting about it, but I just don't agree. I don't think that's fair. I think that the Celtic fans being excited about the return of Kieran Tierney is perfectly natural, and it's perfectly natural and fine for them to sing about it in the stands. This is somebody who, when he left the club, we all were gutted, devastated to see go. Kieran Tierney was the lad that came through the academy, supported the club all his life. He was the next captain, ideally. He was the guy that we all loved and watched play. He was living our dream. He was the support. He was like the big stay of our generation, or the Tommy Burns of our generation. You know, he was the Celtic fan on the park who was there performing with his heart on his sleeve week in, week out. And when he left, we were devastated. And on that note, I think the Celtic fans should be allowed to sing about his imminent return. And I think it's been picked up completely wrong. And if it's the way that they are picking it up, then I believe that they're wrong. And I would say that if I was at a press conference, if I was asked the question, if Brendan Rodgers was to ask me, how do you pick it up? I'll say I just pick it up as the fans being excited, which I think is more than fair, more than allowed. We have waited for this return. It's finally happening. It's not because people are desperate to see Taylor go. It's just because they are excited to see Tierney come back. And I don't see any issue in that. You know, I do not see any issue in it whatsoever. I know I feel like I'm just rambling on and repeating the same points here, but Brendan Rodgers has went out and signed Kieran Tierney, which straight away is a showing of him improving the side and probably picking his new first choice left back. I don't want to use the word hypocritical because I feel like it's unfair on Brendan Rodgers to call him a hypocrite. He is the Celtic manager and I don't look at him as a hypocrite. But there is an ounce of hypocrisy in what he's saying, that the fans shouldn't be happy when he's the one signing the player. And if he wanted to stand by Greg Taylor so much, then surely he doesn't need to sign Kieran Tierney. Now, I know it's a completely different thing. I know it is. But I just don't think that the comment was thought out. And I think he's completely misjudged the situation. Now, I don't know if that has been caused by Greg Taylor's reaction. Behind the scenes, we don't know how Greg Taylor's reacted. Now, everybody's going on about how he was first up the tunnel yesterday. And what I'll say about that is, the guy broke his nose during the game, apparently. He took a sore one. I'm not stunned that he's went right up the tunnel. I can't put two and two together here and claim that it's down to the contractual situation or the Kieran Tierney singing. Nobody knows that. It could have been just because of his nose. So we don't know how he's reacted behind the scenes, but I have a feeling that all of this has been caused, and the reaction from Rodgers has been caused down to perhaps Greg Taylor's reaction. And if he wants to back his player, that is totally allowed. It's totally fair. I just think that it has been picked up in the wrong manner. It shouldn't be perceived in the way that it is. I think that if you speak to the majority of Celtic fans in the flesh at Celtic Park, they will tell you they are a fan of Greg Taylor. They will tell you they're happy for Greg Taylor to remain a Celtic player. They're happy with him being potentially the backup to Kieran Tierney, and a lot of them would be happy with him being the first choice if Kieran Tierney wasn't coming back. But here we are, improving the squad, and we've known for years, and clearly Brendan Rodgers knows that that is a position that needs improved. Hence the reason he is signing Kieran Tierney. So yeah, it's one that's opened a can of worms. And people are annoyed at the manager, people are annoyed at Taylor, people are annoyed at everybody for what's going on. Some people annoyed at the fans for singing the chants. Now, I made it clear that I am very much in agreement with his points on the sighing and moaning and shouting when Celtic passed the ball backwards. I understand that, but at the end of the day, Brendan Rodgers has signed a player that the fans are happy to see come back, that have dreamed about coming back, and they should be allowed to make their enjoyment clear. On that note, I'm going to turn to you guys, and I want to get your opinions on it all from both sides. I will be playing a devil's advocate here. I will be trying to look at people on both sides. I've made my side clear. What I will say is, once again, just to reiterate, I am not that bothered, not as bothered as some folk, and I back the manager, I back Greg Taylor, I back Celtic, I back Kieran Tierney, I back all aspects of the conversation here. I just think that there has been a major misunderstanding somewhere along the way. Thank you to Adam's donated 199, and a lot of people making this point, and I think it's a good point, to be fair. Now, people will say, oh, it's not the same, and I'm like, I know it's not the same, right? But at the same time, the same sentiment is echoed when you chant the name of another player, or a former manager, a former player. People will say, but Willie Maley's not returning to take Rodgers' job. I know, but we still appreciate what Willie Maley done for Celtic. Like we appreciate what Kieran Tierney done for Celtic. Asim, as I brought up yesterday in my video, Asim Rabiani from Celtic EM and Axom, he made the fantastic point that if we were singing Jota's name because he was coming back, would it be disrespectful to to Dyson Maeda and Nicholas Kuhn? Of course not. Well, I don't think so. And if it got picked up as that, well, it's your own decision to pick it up as that. I wouldn't, not in a million years. And I didn't pick that up. I didn't pick up Kieran Tierney chance at the ground yesterday as folk are gutted about folk want Taylor out the door. No, but yeah. Anyway, let's get some of your points. This is probably going to be one that takes up a long time in the stream. Let's see. Corn Celt says, I think it's simple. Anyone wishing to sing, give an opinion, boo, cheer, or whatever else can do so. They paid for that right. Rodgers didn't pay to give his points. The fans have more a right than him. A point that I have seen a lot brought up over the past couple of days. Of course, well within rights, as long as you're not being disrespectful, racist, or anything like that, you should be allowed to go to these games and sing or shout what you want, cheer and boo, because that is your right as a supporter to be there. And I get that. I don't think that Rodgers is necessarily saying that we don't have that right. I just think that obviously he's out trying to make a point about how it seems like we're pushing Taylor out the door. But you're not wrong, Concel. You know, fans should be allowed to sing what they want to sing. Is the Anthony Devine, is the Cameron Carter Vickers and Trusty song disrespectful to Liam Scales? Is that, where does the chain end? Because people will go, oh, but it's not the same because they're already at the club or whatnot. But then you can, I would say that that does apply to Liam Scales if the other applies to Tierney. If you try to get what I'm saying, I think that if we apply that law to one person who is apparently a polarising Celtic player in Greg Taylor, then it should apply to every polarising Celtic player. So where does that chain end? You know, I think that's a fair enough point from Anthony, to be quite honest. MGC Production saying, I can see where Rodgers is coming from. Greg Taylor gives it his all, has been decent for us over the years. We've not sang his name once, and he's never really been shown love by the fans. I do feel for him. So this is one of the main points coming up. As I said, I want to explore both sides on this stream. It isn't about my opinion, it's about your guys' opinion, and I want to cover all angles of it. And I hear this point. I see where folk are coming from and saying that, you know, he's been decent for us and this is how we're repaying him. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I can see why some may perceive it as that. What I would say in response to that is, the chant of Kieran Tierney coming back isn't, there's no lyrics in that saying, and you're coming home to replace Greg Taylor or anything, you know, he's just coming back up. Listen, Celtic fans would be singing, what? So let me flip the scenario here, right? If Kieran Tierney was coming back to Celtic just to be a backup and we were singing his name, would this reaction happen? I don't know. What do you think? If Kieran Tierney was coming back just to end his career here and fans were singing his name, would it be seen as disrespectful? It seems like this point about him pushing Taylor out the door has been manufactured somewhere that wasn't in the stands of Celtic Park yesterday. And I get it. People haven't sung the name of Greg Taylor. Probably because he has had such an up and down Celtic career. You know, he's had moments where he's been great, he's had moments where he's been poor. I just feel like that narrative has been created for a reason of sympathy that I don't think needs to exist. I really like Greg Taylor. In fact, I love Greg Taylor. I think he's a good player, and I would love to see him stay at Celtic. And people will give him his respect. Just sadly, it's not came in the form of a song. He isn't the only Celtic player that's not had a song over the years. There's no Alistair Johnston song. There's no Casper Schmeichel. Well, it had the Christmas song, I suppose. I take that back. There is a Casper Schmeichel song, isn't there? There's no Arne Engels song. God, we barely even, you know, there's some, like, Nicholas Kuhn's only had a song in the last couple of weeks. You know, there's just so many different ways to look at it. It's such a polarising one that it's almost like the way that I've been looking at it the past 24 hours is the white and gold versus blue and black. Remember the dress that went viral in like 2015? It's like that. You're either one side or the other. You love them, you hate them. You love the situation, you hate the situation. It's strange. Let's see, what else? What other points have we got? So, is the Cal McGregor song we sing, there's one better disrespectful to the other Celtic players? And that's what we could sit. Where does the chain end? We could sit and pick that apart all day. You know, we could go down this cycle of going, oh, does Henrik Larsson's chant getting sung mean that we have no love for Kyogo or that? You know, that chain could go on forever. But it is a point. It's like, you know, once you've found that hole somewhere, it can go on forever and ever. Duncan saying Taylor has a right to be pretty sick of a good number of the Celtic support. No player in the current team gets criticised as harshly. Would that happen if he was Spanish or Japanese? Which is one of the huge points as well that I've seen over the past 24 hours, that there always is a whipping boy at Celtic and they always happen to be Scottish. And I agree with elements of that, and I've been vocal about that in the past, about how we can be so harsh to Scottish players, and I'm guilty of it. You know, I'm guilty of it as well. But once again, you can flip that, can't you? You can flip that and go, well, maybe they are the players who are worthy of the most criticism. People will go, oh, you only criticise Anthony Ralston because he's Scottish. I'm like, it's not because he's Scottish. I'm fucking Scottish. Why do I want to criticise one of my own? You know what I mean? But sometimes he's just the worst player in the park and deserves the criticism. And would it happen if he was Spanish or Japanese? What I will say to that is, Ryo Hatate is one of the most constantly criticised and critiqued Celtic players in this squad, and he's Japanese. He is. It 100% is. Constantly, every game, I see comments about Ryo Hatate by the bucket load. Just as much as, maybe not as much as Greg Taylor sometimes, but sometimes, he gets it stinking, and he's Japanese. So I think that point does apply. There always seems to be the Scottish whipping boy that goes around, but I don't think it necessarily means that anybody of other nationality is magically exempt. Let's see. The moans and groans from the fans are important. Not taking risks is the reason we are drawing in European games. We're drawing with good teams. We're drawing with teams that are champions of their nations. Champions of Belgium, champions of Croatia, who have their own right to win these games of football. And I get it, sometimes we aren't that risky. And I'm not saying that the football is constantly entertaining for 90 minutes, but it's, Brendan spoke about it, didn't he? He says it's about trying to change the point of attack. It's like trying to find an opportunity, and sometimes we need to do it in certain ways. Keep your comments coming though. I want so much about this conversation. I like getting different views across, even if I don't necessarily agree with them. Bit of paranoia has crept in there. I don't think signing KT was anything to do with Greg Taylor. I don't think Greg Taylor deserves any of this that's happening just now, and I don't think he deserves to be dragged into so many of these conversations. But one of the biggest things that has brought in these conversations is the fact he's not signed that contract. And that is purely down to him, because we know that Celtic have offered him a contract. We know that Brendan Rodgers has publicly said they want to sign him again. They want to bring him on. We know that Taylor is the one who's probably knocked it back. So I think he probably could have helped himself. But listen, it's not it's a life-changing decision, isn't it? You could get moves elsewhere that might have more money on the line. It's not easy. None of us are professional footballers. We don't have the right to comment on that sort of situation. Let's see what else. I think Brendan meant that maybe some fans don't see the effort and commitment that Greg Taylor puts in for the team. Yeah, you know what? Brendan Rodgers is probably online, Claire. He's probably online. He's probably there, burner account somewhere, and probably sees the stick he's under. Maybe that has encouraged some of the conversation. What I will say is some of the abuse he does get is bang out of order. 100%. I would back him if I had to. If somebody came on this stream and started calling him this, that, or the next thing, I would say it's ridiculous. And Rodgers probably knows about some of that abuse he gets, and maybe that is where some of his reaction has spawned from, which is more than fair. But once again, I feel like he's just brought it across in the complete wrong way. Kevin, loyal commenter, I think it was just Rodgers' frustration from Thursday coming out, but just expressed poorly, aiming at a dig at the fans being excited. However, correct on the backward passes moaning. I was going to say this at the start of my stream. To be honest, I think there is an aspect of that as well. We know that Brendan Rodgers, and I love him to bits, we know he's a big-headed bastard, right? We know he's got an ego, and that's nowhere to be hidden, right? And the damage that ego may have taken on Thursday afternoon probably has carried into the weekend, and I think there is an aspect of frustration showing from that, and I think that's maybe also shown in his comments and his dig towards the fans. Listen, we all have those moments. And I don't necessarily think it should mean anybody turns on the manager by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I think there is an aspect of that, Kevin. I think you're right. Let's see. What else have we got? So many. Feels like this whole stream has been dictated to this, or dedicated to this, sorry. So we will move it on in 5 or so minutes time. Paul believes there's something happening behind the scenes. Yeah, Kieran Tierney's coming in. That's what's happening behind the scenes. Brendan Rodgers and his colleagues must be surely taking feedback from all angles. Definitely not the red top rags. Yeah, listen, we have no idea how far it goes down at Celtic. I've been told things that makes you go like a lot of the people at the club know exactly what we're all saying on these streams. We're not just some niche. Like some people will be. There's obviously some podcasts out there that they're not going to give the time of day to, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but, guys that maybe have 5 subscribers are not exactly going to listen to, or podcasts that have no followers on Twitter. But the top-end podcasters and stuff, there's a reason the fan media quadrangle of the the media side of things exists now, and we've been told, like, they are aware. So they know about all these things, and they will check forums online, and they will look at fan forums and papers and all the rest of it. They do hear all this criticism. Sometimes they just don't act on it, or sometimes they overact on it. You know. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Adam's saying that Brendan's mouth will lose him a lot of respect and the support. Yesterday in the Pyro incident, have had the fans no happy with him. Yeah, I this is what I will say to that is I agree with it, and I think that he will be keen to make up for that, and I think that there will be opportunities where he does make up for that, and I think you've seen it in the past. But I think we've got to the point as a football club where this isn't targeted at Rodgers by any stretch, but I think the club in general have tried to, and let's not play daft about things here. They have tried to kind of leave out a portion of supporters, a vocal amount of supporters, and I'm not talking about like the Green Brigade here or boys or anything like that. I'm not meaning an actual physical group of supporters here. I'm just meaning that there is a type of supporter that the club will deliberately ignore now. There is like a stat, if you were to paint a person and give them all these personality traits, the club just ignore them now, and that is the Pyro carrying sort of, I don't know, entitled Ned, as the phrase was a few years ago. The club just like to ignore them now, and be it right or not, that's what they do. You know, they'd rather listen to a Rod Stewart than a match day goal. You know, but yeah, it's a really strange one, this. The whole Greg Taylor thing. It has opened a can of worms, as I think it was Alistair that put it earlier. Anyway, I'm hoping that it does go away. What's going to be really interesting now is to see what happens when Kieran Tierney does arrive back at the club. I'm interested to see what happens, because I think Brendan Rodgers is putting himself at a little bit of a risk here, in the sense that people are going to call him a hypocrite when he drops Taylor for the first time. And that's definitely going to happen. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Greg Taylor, if he stays, if he goes. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and how quickly Tierney will find himself in the team, and it'll be interesting to see how Brendan Rodgers reacts to it all in the media. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, as I said in my tweet yesterday, I followed it up with the point of, you know, God bless Celtic, God bless Brendan Rodgers, and 4 in a row is pending, so everything's good, and I'm not going to be that bothered. Right, okay, let's just move on to the general Q&A. It doesn't need to be about Tierney now. It doesn't need to be about the Taylor situation. If you do have questions on it, feel free to pack them in. I'll try and get to as many of them as possible. I want to get as many of them. I'll start with Paul. Love you, Paul, mate. Nice to see you. Why are so many of our supporters incapable of getting over him leaving the first time? Celtic are not the peak of football. It's crazy to still be bitter about that. I don't know if you're talking about Rodgers or Tierney here. I'm going to go under the assumption that you mean Tierney, because I have seen so many people going, the reaction to the stuff yesterday is, oh, well, Tierney left us for money in the first time, so get it up him. I'm like, of course he did. He was getting offered £120,000 a week at one of the biggest clubs in world football, and if you hold that as a grudge against Kieran Tierney, you're the one in the wrong. And I will not hold back in saying that. I think that you're completely and utterly wrong. He was more than entitled to leave. He made the right decision for himself and his family to leave, and now he's coming back because he loves the club, and you should respect him for that alone, because he owes nothing to Celtic. He owes nothing to us. Nobody owes anything to Celtic. So yeah, I don't get why people are bitter about it. It makes no sense to me. He didn't even leave halfway through the season either. He'd done it at the right. So people will go, Rodgers could have at least left at the end of the season. Tierney done that, so why are we flipping the agenda then? You know, it's either one or the other. You know. So let's get more. I want to get different comments up, not necessarily all about Taylor and Tierney. Guarantee you'll hear the song sung loud and proud on Wednesday night. I would agree with that, but I have a horrid feeling that place will be half empty on Wednesday night, and we'll all be too quiet too tired to or too cold, sorry, to sing. Celtic Unrestricted Views saying, do you think that Brendan Rodgers will continue to rotate with Kieran Tierney and Taylor? Honestly, yes. I think purely down to the fact that Rodgers won't want to look like a dick after his comments. I think he'll want to give Taylor more time, and maybe it's about getting Tierney back to the right intensity and fitness levels as well. Yeah, up until the end of the season, I see rotation in there. Until Kieran Tierney's fit enough to hold down that spot on a more regular basis. And listen, once again, just to reiterate, Taylor, for as much criticism as he might take and for the negatives that might be there in his game, still a good player. still a player that doesn't deserve to have no minutes. So, yeah, it's up to the manager now to manage that himself. Hence the reason he's a manager. Let's see. Have I missed something? Has Tierney been confirmed? The whole stream it sounded like Tierney. I look, listen, it's essential. Like, this is yesterday all but confirmed it, didn't it? Because Rodgers could easily come out and go, he's not coming, you know, and we all know he is now. We all know he is. So, I mean, once again, I don't want to get my heart broken, but it's pretty much done. I feel for Valley, says David. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him from between now and the end of the season. I mean, there's no guarantee that Kieran Tierney does join in January. That's not a guarantee. It might not be till the end of the season. It depends if Celtic can strike a loan deal between Arsenal and themselves for now in the end of the season. So we'll need to wait and see. We don't know when he's arriving yet. So nothing's set in stone. Nothing is set in stone. Let's see, what else have we got? Let's see, Jack, because I'm a member for 4 months. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you, mate. 4 months. It's that been 4 months since I started it. The time is flying by. I'll be grey soon. I think we really need to sign a defensive midfielder in this window, like a Wanyama type player. We need a more physical presence in the midfield. I agree. I agree with that. I think that Cal McGregor could be doing with the support there. Because it's just one of those positions, it's just one of those areas where, you know, you need a wee bit of physicality in certain games. Now, McGregor holds the fort down well majority of the time, 95% of the time, but there is those games like Rangers on Thursday where he gets, I'm not going to use the word bullied, nobody bullies my captain, but he does look the weaker in the midfield, so maybe he does need that bit of physicality and support in there, and I think giving him a bit of rotation option would be nice. People always go, we should have kept Iwata. Come on now. Iwata wasn't the answer. I liked Iwata. He was a good player. Good enough. 100% good enough. But just, you know, you can't go from Callum McGregor to Tomoki Iwata. And that's that. Anyway. See, Adamida taking a lot of stick over the weekend. Listen, there's a problem in the striking department in general. They can't score in a fucking brothel, the two of them. So, I don't think it's necessarily need a problem. I think it's a striker problem, if anything. Do I want Jota to come back? Of course I do. But I would also love to go on a date with Charlie XCX, but that's not going to happen. Sadly. Some people in here have no clue who that is. Well, I do. And I love her. Let's see, what else have we got? It doesn't need to be a Wanyama. It needs to be an athletic and positive carrying the ball forward. We're looking for such a hybrid of players, aren't we? You're like, you know, we want people who can do everything. The scouting department will be doing their job. That's one thing. They'll be doing their job. They'll be looking for somebody to come in and fulfill that role. Eventually, we're going to have to talk about the Callum McGregor, heir to the Callum McGregor throne, you know? And, you know, whoever that might be, we just need to be patient for. Ian, the Aberdeen supporter. Hello, Ian. 4 months. I guess we're not winning the league. Do you know what? At least you've taken it in your stride, Ian. You know, you've taken it with your chin held high and... yeah, it's been a bit of a disaster. What's going on? It's been kind of, you know, not that it bothers me, not that it affects me. It's been kind of sad. You know, I've kind of looked at the games and gone, I quite enjoyed the challenge and the stride for stride battle, but it is what it is. You shall pull it back together, and I'm sure you can finish the season positively. It's still a long way to go, and every team has their rough patch. I'm gutted that Kyogo's dwindling away. Just make it sound like he's dying. He's dwindling away in the team. Alright, in the team. He's definitely off in the summer. I wouldn't be stunned if he moved on in the summer. I hope not. I would be gutted, but, you know, we'll have that conversation at the end of the season. He's got a big 5 months now. A huge 5 months. A few of these players have a big 5 months ahead of them. A lot to prove in this last 5 months of the season. Jordy C1888 says that this January desperately need a striker, left back, centre midfielder and a quality backup winger. Do you agree, Ryan? I don't disagree, put it that way, but I wouldn't expect too much. I expect a big window, but I don't expect them to make a lot of groundbreaking first team slotting into the starting 11 signings. There's only so much change I think you can go through when you have such big games coming up, when you have the likes of these European games. So I think they'll look to bring in depth, absolutely. I don't see them signing a first team striker. I just don't see them doing it. I don't see them signing somebody who's due to replace Kyogo or Ida, especially when they've just spent 9 million in Ida. But I definitely think that a winger and a left back will happen, and centre midfielder, we'll see. There's not been an awful lot of chat. There's been tiny murmurs. We heard the stuff about James McAtee, Kieran Dewsbury All, and Carney Chukwuemeka. Those kind of came up, but they were just murmurs. They weren't they weren't anything with much substance to it at this stage. So, a long month ahead of us, to say the least. Kyogo covered more ground in 10 minutes yesterday than he did in the whole second half. They're two different strikers. They're two completely different strikers. If either's not getting sent out to play the same way as Kyogo, and obviously that'll be picked up on. But even that last season, when Ida was unbelievable and scoring for fun, it wasn't like he was all over the place. A lot of his goals came from headers and tap-ins and stuff like that. It's just natural for a guy that size and that type of striker to not do an awful lot of movement. But yeah, it was poor yesterday. Absolutely. Nielsen, thank you for being a channel member for 4 months. Appreciated. Another away game for them during the week and a couple of points towards us. Nawrowski looking to leave. We will need to buy backup. Backup to Nawrowski. I don't think we need backup to Nawrowski. He's hardly in the team. But I get what you're saying. When one goes out, one comes in sort of thing. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for being a member for 4 months. Any news on Lennon Miller? Nope. Nothing. Doubt he'll become a Celtic player this month. I have a feeling he'll end the month as a Motherwell player, to be quite honest. Listen, they've got a lot of power, I think. When's Lennon Miller's contract up, actually? I know he's obviously only young. Let's see. I've just googled his name, and Lennon Miller's injured for 2 months. I forgot all about that. Yeah, he's out for 2 months. So yeah, he's going to end the season, a Motherwell player. His contract, however, does expire at the end of next season. I didn't notice that. I thought it was 2 years away. Wow. So Motherwell are going to have to think fast with that one. I'll be surprised if Miller is in any rush to sign a new deal with them when he hears about all these murmurs from Celtic, Rangers, teams down south. We'll see. Anyway, let's get a few. What are we on? 37 minutes. Let's get a few. Let's round it up to 40 minutes on the stream, shall we? Let's try and power through a few more questions. Better Rogic or Moy? Rogic. I loved Moy, but Rogic, of course. Need to beat Dundee United so we can go 16 points clear and pile more pressure on Rangers. Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Rangers if we can pick up the pieces from the torrid away form. We're 13 clear anyway, so whatever happens with them doesn't really concern me at this point. It's just a laugh, really. Didn't we buy Turnbull injured and rehab him from Motherwell? We tried to sign him when he was injured and the deal fell through because of it. And then when we did sign him, I don't think he was injured. Not that I remember. I think he was ready to play when he came into us. I don't know if you're thinking about the failed first transfer when he was sitting beside Neil Lennon and all the rest of it, and then it just never happened. So I saw that Greg Taylor wants to stay with Celtic. Yeah, so there was a report that came out late on like Friday night, I think it was, saying that there was a U-turn in his thoughts and wanted to stay. Listen, unless anybody knows the guy personally, I don't think anyone truly knows if Taylor wants to stay or wants to go, and there's no point in kind of speculating about it at this point, Helen. But listen, as I've said, if he wants to stay, I'm more than happy to see him stay. There's obviously just going to have to be a pecking order established. So yeah. We got a couple more. Celtic needs to fix Celtic TV. Most of the second half it was green screen. Yeah, have you not heard yet, Ross? I thought it was common. There was a power cut at Celtic Park. It wasn't Celtic's fault. There was a power cut in Parkhead. Celtic TV is rotten at the best of times. Don't get me wrong. I do agree with you, Ross. They do need to improve it. But yesterday genuinely wasn't Celtic's fault. There was a power cut, and yeah, that's that. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there then. I think that's a nice point to wrap things up. We have spoken an awful hell of a lot about the Kieran Tierney and Greg Taylor stuff and whatnot, but it's nice to be back on the usual Monday night slot for these Q&A streams. So thank you for joining us. We will be back tomorrow with a normal video. We'll be back with the members Q&A and members FM streams for the week as well. So if you want to become a channel member, you can do that. But until this time next week, ladies and gents, enjoy yourselves, enjoy life, and we'll see you on the other side. That sounds like we're all dying. We're no dying. See you next time.